Hello and welcome to Tricks of the S-Trade channel. Today is the 23rd of December, a couple of days before Christmas. And we're going to be talking about what Christmas really is. It's going to be a very, I don't think it's going to be an extremely long show, but it will be a long show for sure. So we're going to talk about what Christmas and Easter really is on today's program. So you guys can have a clear understanding of what Christmas and Easter is, because a lot of people don't know. They believe in the fake fallacy that, Christmas is the time of Christ's birth and Easter is the time when Christ died, was buried and resurrected, and that's what you guys are celebrating. That's what's been told to us by the Vatican, who runs the world, but it is really not the case. So today we're going to make you understand what Christmas really is about. We have a lot of few other information that we're going to be passing along, because the Vatican has caught up onto us, and we don't know how long this channel is going to be, and we're going to show you that also, and a lot of stuff so that you can understand what Christmas and Easter really means, and in between some other news. Now, the feature on today's show's name is Duff mckagan. Duff mckagan used to be a member of the group called Guns N' Roses. It was a very popular rock and roll or rock band, as they call it, and they existed for quite some time. And now I want to thank a very special subscriber of ours for bringing this to our attention. That subscriber's name is my hero, Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound, I want to thank you. I love what you're doing. You're one of the greatest subscribers that we have, and we really do appreciate you. So stay around. So if it's your first time on our channel and you have heard all that and you want to continue watching the video from this point in time, this is the part that I advise that you pause the video right here and go look for the primer video. When you're done watching the primer video, you can come back and continue watching this video, because without you watching the primer video, you're going to have a lot of unanswered questions. You're going to be leaving comments, because you have to understand that our mindset has been trained very wrongly right from the time we were born up till today. People don't know how to think, and I'll show you that in a couple of stuff that I'm going to show you down the line with some explanations on what I'm trying to show you. So you have to watch the primer video, because when you watch the primer video, you're going to have a basic foundation for watching the rest of the videos that we have on this channel. And this primer video is the most important video that you have to watch on this channel. If you do not watch any other video, you have to watch the primer video. The primer video is going to answer your questions to the reasons why and so many other things. And as usual, the Vatican is behind everything, which we'll explain. The Vatican has caught up to us finally. They sent us an email on behalf of YouTube, because the Vatican owns YouTube, like I've always said, and they tried to shut down one of our videos. So I don't know how long this video is going to be on this channel. So what I would recommend is this: if you're on this channel, because we're trying to put stuff into a book, all right, and the book is going to be published. So if you're interested in the book, because the book will tell you everything that you need to know, will give you a timeline of real world history and explain events that will make meaning to you, so that you're not going to be living in any puzzled world or doubts or anything about the world that you live in. We advise that you send us an email. Send us an email. The email is the same as the channel name at gmail.com. Send us an email so that when the book is ready, we will let you know that the book is ready. We'll send an email out to you first before we come on the channel, if the channel is still going to be around by then, because the Vatican is on behind us, because they don't like the truth that we're sharing. Before we make a video to let everybody else know, we'll send you an email first and tell you how to get the book, because you won't find the book on Amazon or any of those websites that do sales. You won't find it. We're going to be shipping it directly to you. So you send us an email, and then we'll send you an email once the book is ready, before we even make a video letting everybody else know, so that if you're interested in the book, then you can get it. We'll tell you about how much it's going to cost, and shipping and tracking and all that stuff, so you get it. So like I've said before, going back now to the new subscribers trying to get on this channel to watch this particular video, that you have to watch the primer video, and let me show you how to get to the primer video now. So the primer video will be the oldest video that you have on this channel. It's called Primer. It also has a playlist. You can look for the playlist that's called Primer on the channel to get this particular video. Now, when you click on this video, and after you finish watching this video, or any video that we have on this channel, when you click on any video that we have, there is a description section in the video, all right? And that's what I intend to show you. And sorry, my internet is a little bit slow today. So this is the primer video, and any other video that you watch on this channel, there is a link in the description section. The description section is going to take you to a document. The document is going to be called Male versus Female Visual Differences. We advise that you study this document. All right. It's very, very important that you study this document if you're interested in the transgender part of our channel. Because even though we feature a lot of transgenders on our channel, the channel is not about transgenders questions or transgenders in general. So as much as like we like answering questions about transgenders, right? It's not a transgender channel, because a lot of people come in here and are so engulfed with transgenders and forget about everything else. You have to understand that the transgenders are just a cog in the wheel of the Vatican running the world. That's just the truth. They're just a cog. They're just a tiny portion of it. Tiny portion of it. So even if we didn't have to be talking about transgenders, it would not matter, because they are not the problem. We're just showing transgenders because we are trying to do a service, because there's a lot of misinformation that's been guided by the Vatican on how to identify transgenders, because that's what the Vatican loves doing. When they find out that people are going to get on some information, they get ahead of them all the time and try to lead the way. So in most of the news that you hear about on the channel, on YouTube, or being spread around you, whether it be the flat earthers, transgenders, it's the Vatican that leads the way, because they've always known that the best way to guide the public is for them to lead it. So when we feature transgenders, we're just featuring it based on the fact that it's a service. It's not something that we want to do, but we just want to try to make people to understand in the shortest amount of possible time the differences between the genders, because it's so alarming that, as a people, even as certain females, they can identify what a female should look like when they are one themselves. That's how crazy it is. A woman can identify what another woman should look like when she is a woman herself. I mean, that is something that is crazy. It's very, very crazy. So that's how we've been dumbed down, and been mind controlled since you were a child, not to know the difference. Because I think every woman should know how another woman should look. With males, it's pretty easy to spot a man. We know what a man looks like. But with a female, it should be as easy as well, based on the fact that you're a woman yourself. But so much people don't know how to do that, and they'll come up to the video and ask a lot of questions. So people, now here from this point in time, since we're on the subject of transvestigation, we're about to get into Duff McKagan for a while, and then we'll switch back with the other information that we have. I want to show you guys how to think. So, for example, a lady left me a comment and said that she couldn't see the arch in her daughter's back. All right. And I told her, I was trying to tell her how she should stand to look at that arch, because every woman has an arch, regardless. It can be subtle, and it can be very, very pronounced. Now, there's a reason why that is. And as you know, the medical world knows about that every woman has an arch because the pelvis is tilted forward. But if you go looking on the internet to ask that question to get answers, you won't get any answers at all. You'll be so surprised that something that we can visibly see on all females, in which shows that they have an arch in the back and the pelvis is tilted forward, is something that is being debated on like it's not real. That's how crazy our world is. Why is that so? Because everything, all right, that's organized in this world is run by the Vatican. And whenever it's run by the Vatican, there has to be lies. And let me just show you that real quick before we come back to this document, because I'm trying to show you guys how to think right here. So if you type in a search engine, like I'm using Google right now, and say pelvic tilt in women, that's the perfect tilt in women, right? You won't find any answers that tell you that a female's pelvis has to tilt forward because that's the position it has to be if a child has to stay inside the womb. What you're going to come up with will be such ridiculous results, like saying, so basically anterior pelvic tilt potentially leads to lower back pain, hip pain because of the rotated femurs, knee pain because of the knee knock position and flat fit. You won't find any results when you type in anything that has to do with the pelvic tilt. You might type in stuff like angle of pelvic tilt, like tilt in women right here, and this, you will see the results that will come up. Let me just show you that. Okay, I said angle of pelvic tilt. What comes up? They say pelvic tilt is often quantified using the angle between the horizontal line and the connecting anterior superior iliac spine and the posterior superior iliac spine. The study found a range of values for ASIS, meaning anterior superior iliac spine, and PSIS of 0 to 23 degrees with a mean of 13 and standard deviation of 5 degrees. If you even type stuff like, let's say, pelvic tilt, right? Between males and females, all right? And see the result that's going to come up. You will see that they will find that there is no such difference. The result that I don't want to click through any, but let me just see. Let me just click on this particular link, for example, and see if it's going to open up. Sorry, my internet is a little bit slow today. So the website finally loaded. You could pause the video at any point in time and go copy out this link if you're interested in reading. But the idea of what I'm trying to show you is that when you type into your search engine or try to ask questions about a pelvic tilt between males and females, you're not going to have any clear-cut answers, all right? It's going to be all over the place. They'll start telling you about anterior pelvic tilts, posterior pelvic tilts, and the neutral spine, which is all indication of maybe someone's spine going way out of way than the way it's supposed to naturally be. That's all what it is. But they'll never tell you that a female pelvis tilts forward, because it's something we see every day. I mean, if you're a female, you stand. Now, the reasons why I'm showing you guys all of this because is when people look at pictures, for example, when we go to a document, all right, and you see somebody standing here sideways, not a front view, there is a reason why we're showing you the picture from the side. So you just can't go start doing your analysis and start looking at pictures of the person from the front or the back. So if you're trying to see the arch in that back for that woman who asked the question or the subscriber, you have to stand sideways. That's when you see it. So you just can't go and turn the person's backward and try to see if the person has an arch in the back or not. You have to stand sideways. So when we show you something, then you have to follow it accordingly to what we show you. The reason why I'm doing this is because people have to be trained on how to think, all right? Because your brain cells, if you're not thinking, all right, your brain is not working properly. That's just the fact. If you're not thinking, because the brain is like a machine that needs to be oiled steadily. So you need to fire the right neurons. Otherwise, things are not going to be working out right for you. You're going to find out that stuff you're supposed to do, you can't do it because you're killing your brain because you're not activating it. Because that's the reason why the Vatican is hard at work promoting all the false information around you so that it can kill your brain. Because the one thing that God gave us is our brain, the ability to think, to reason things out and see if it makes sense. So that's why the Vatican, through the devil through the Vatican, is so much interested in how you think. Because if he knows that if you can put your brain to work, he is in trouble. So they're more interested in how you think. So that's why they're at the forefront of making sure that you get into the schools, into their own schools, read their own documents, watch their own TVs on how to think so that you can be dumbed down for their own good. So getting back to the subject of talking about that, if you're trying to find the pelvic tilt on the internet, if you go type in the pelvic tilt, you won't find it. Let me show you how they hide it so you do not know it. Before I show you how they hide this stuff, let me just see how, I just want to let you guys see how they confuse you. You could pause the video at any point in time and copy out this link right here. It says, what is correct pelvic position? It's a general question. They say, believe it or not, the correct pelvic position seems to be still somewhat controversial. Let me see if I can increase this a bit more so you guys can see it. It says here, believe it or not, the correct pelvic position seems to be still somewhat controversial. If you do a Google search, you'll get a variety of answers. Some of them are quite different. That's just what I just said. One could divide them into 3 categories. Pelvis should be tucked under. Sometimes it's still promoted on personal training sites or in all exercise videos. All the exercises are aimed to fight an anterior pelvic tilt by tucking the tailbone under. It is not a good advice. The next one says pelvis should be anteverted. The Gokul method for a term for a certain angle of slightly anterior pelvic position more than is just a pelvic tilt. The angle between last lumbar vertebra and sacrum is defined. It's also in line with Lisa Ann McCall, body balance, and Kathleen Porter, natural posture. I highly recommend looking into the Esther Gokul, Lisa and McCall, or Kathleen Porter posture therapy methods. Pelvis should be neutral, as in pilots. You can see that all this, if you're somebody looking for information, try to find out if it's true that a female's pelvis is tilted forward, which gives her an arch in her back, you won't find any. And you become frustrated and think, oh, whatever tricks of the S-trade is telling you is a lie because I couldn't find it on the internet. All right? Let me show you how to hide the answer that you're looking for now. So the big word the Vatican uses to hide this, and even then, even when they're hiding it, they're still going to debate that they don't think that it's real, that a female's back can be arched. And I'll show you that in a second. It's something that the scientific community, the people who you've entrusted your care into, still talk about, debate. Why should there be a debate about something you see on every woman? That if you look at the woman from the side, that from the front, from below her navel, is tilted downwards. It's slanting downwards, much more than that of a man. And that from the back is the same thing. Why should that be something that you're debating about? Because the Vatican has got his hands in it. All this is an agenda to blur the line so you can distinguish between male and female. It's all been in the books for a very long time because the Vatican is the one at work. So the big word for you looking for that pelvic tilt that causes a female to have an arch in the back is called lumbar lordosis. Now, just imagine for a second. Maybe for the first time in your life, you're probably hearing this word for the very, very first time, lumbar lordosis. Now, should it be something that should have this kind of like big phrase attached to it, and you never hear it around? Because somebody will hear lumbar lordosis and doesn't even understand what it's talking about. Because the Vatican is good at hiding stuff with words in books, because they know people can read. So when they make up, crazy words and ambiguous words like this, it becomes a problem. You wouldn't even bother to be talking about it because you can't say it naturally and freely. Lumbar lordosis. Now, let's read about it, what lumbar lordosis means in Wikipedia. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, it says, lordosis refers to the normal inward lordotic curvature of the lumbar and cervical regions of the human spine. That's what it says. Now, they will still argue about the fact that they don't know if women have it or it's a difference, but let me show you that right now. So here is an article online, and people women especially, trying to find out why their backs are the way they are. Because if you've noticed, maybe if you go asking a medical professional, not just like a medical professional because they're trained that way, and you say that you have an arch in your back, a lot of women don't understand that the back is natural to be arched for a female. So they might think that it's a problem in the way their back arches, and so they go seeking medical advice. And they're going to give you all the medical advice and try to tell you how to straighten your back out. And a woman is going to think that that's the natural way her back should be. All right. So on this particular website right here, you can pause the video at any point in time and go read this out. You could see here that someone is asking the question. Let me make sure that you have the correct website first. I'm just going to pause it just for a minute so you guys can see. Copy out the website. You can go read it up if you want to. Now, back into the question. So it says, do many women have anterior pelvic tilt? Because the right way for talking about the lumbar lordosis should be the pelvic tilt, which is much more easier to understand, that the pelvis is tilted forward. So there's a woman trying to who thinks she has a problem from the way her back looks. And she says, I've been trying to correct my posture as my lower back becomes very arched and my butt sticks out when I stand straight. However, I'm noticing, now this is the question that this lady is saying, said, however, I'm noticing that many gym girls also have an arched lower back too. So even though she's been taught that it's wrong, but she's seeing that it's noticeable on every other female that she sees around. And she says, I'm guessing that they're happy with that because it shows on their butt more, but it's also unhealthy. But isn't it also unhealthy? She thinks it's unhealthy. I'm guessing they're happy with that because it shows on their butt more, but isn't also unhealthy. She probably thinks this is very unhealthy. So now someone decided to answer the question for her. He said, women naturally have a more pronounced lordosis. That means now they've switched the word now from the pelvic tilt to the lordosis, right? pronounced lordosis than men unless you are a trained physical therapist or something similar. You are probably not accurately diagnosing people. So this guy tried to answer the question. Women naturally have a more pronounced lordosis than men. Now I'm going to show you to a website. The website does a lot of medical journals, and see what the website talks about. Even when it's answering the question, it's still going to tell you that it's debatable, because the Vatican always infuses lies into everything, even when they're telling you the truth. Why? The idea is to control your mind. Because like I said, like I said before, if you're not thinking with your brain, if you're not observing things, all right, you are going to be dumbed down. Because in basic training, for example, let me just give you how people think. Let's say you walk into a store, all right, and you see that people are walking towards one side of the store and not the other. Your brain, you should automatically stop and ask yourself the question, why are they working towards this way and not this way when it looks free? Those are simple things. Let's say you drive a car and you go into maybe a street to park, and you see that all of a sudden the cars are parked one way, and meanwhile the other side of the street is free, but no cars are parked. And you just go park there. You're not thinking about your actions. There's a reason why those cars are packed the way they are. It's just like maybe you're in a gathering and you see people, walking up and down. They're walking one way or the other, or they're going through a particular door instead of another door. You should ask yourself the question, why? That's how you activate your brain cells, by always asking why, instead of just accepting stuff. So like I said, I showed earlier in this picture, right here, I showed you this picture, and you see that these people are standing by the side, standing sideways, looking at the arch in their back. You should automatically, why are they standing sideways? Because it's easier for you to see the arch when you're standing sideways than when you're looking at the person from the front or from the back. It's easier to see the arch from the side. That's how you activate your brain cells, by asking questions why things are the way they are when you're looking at it, instead of just accepting stuff. So let's go back to that medical website and show you the lumbar lordosis and what they're debating about. The website is going to tell you they have it, but they're still going to say it's debatable. Let's do that. So here is this medical website. You could pause the video at any point in time right there and copy out the link, ncbi.lam.nih.gov. It's a credible website, but it's still anything credible, it's always infiltrated by the Vatican, because the aim is to make sure that they can dumb down your brain. All right? Because the brain is the greatest tool. That's the problem between people finding out who they are and why they are, is because you're not thinking. Your brain's not working. You're just busy accepting information and regurgitating without thinking about it. You're busy looking at pictures and looking at things, hearing the news without thinking about it. You're just accepting stuff. That's what makes you dumb. It's only children who accept stuff. All right? When you have a baby, maybe it's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, you have to tell it stuff. Babies. It's babies that accept stuff. So you continually keep the human brain in a baby standard. It's never going to grow. That is the idea behind everything that the Vatican does through the devil, which controls them. All right? So on this website, he says, they start out by telling you the lie first. They say whether differences exist in male and female lumbar lordosis, which is the pelvic tilt, has been debated by researchers who are divided as the nature of variations in the spinal curve. Can you believe the nonsense that you hear? This is something you see in every woman. Let her stand sideways. You would see that from her navel is slanted downwards towards her pubic region, and the back as well. But this is something researchers debate. What kind of freaking researchers are they? Researchers of the devil, the Vatican themselves. Now, when you read on into this particular webpage, it finally tells you the truth. It says, compared to males, the female spine manifested a statistically significant greater curvature, a caudally located lordotic peak, and greater cranial peak height. So they tell you the truth right here, but they started out by telling you a lie first, that it's debatable. But they tell you the truth. So anybody reading this without thinking with their brain, using their brain, and looking at the facts around them in the people that you see, will accept this and say, because it's coming from a reputable website, that what they're saying is true, so it ought to be that it is not true that females have an arch in their back, much more that their backs are arched than males. And that's the conclusion you're going to draw to, because you're not thinking with your brain. Okay, so let's move on so we can get on the subject of transvestigation and finish up with Duff McKagan and then go into some other stuff. So a female's back's always going to arch much more than a man because of the pelvis, because her pelvis is tilted forward. That's the reason why a female has an arch in her back. The arch is also extra support for the weight of carrying children because a woman is going to get pregnant. The arch is also because the spine of a woman is much more flexible, all right, which is required in case she gets pregnant, so she can carry that weight of pregnancy without having problems walking over. So a female always has a deep C arch in the back. All right, if you're drawing the line from where the arch is going to be just underneath the shoulder blades into the back, you will see that deep C arch. But if you draw it higher up, it's going to form an S-shaped spine. So always remember those letters, C or an S for a female. Males do not have an arch in their back because males don't get pregnant. They can't get pregnant. It's not a requirement for them to get pregnant. So the back of a man is straight and the pelvis is straight as well. It's not tilted forward like that of a female. So a man's back, if he wants to arch, is going to arch outwards into the shape of a D or a P. So I want you to remember those letters, D or a P for the shape of a back, of the shape of the back of a man, D or a P, or straight. For a female is C or an S. So remember that. I scroll further into the document just to show you that a female's back is always going to be arching more than that of a female. Oh, sorry, of that of a male. Sorry, my internet is pretty slow today. We're going to just try to work through this. As you can see here is a female kneeling down. You can still see that deep C arch in the back because the pelvis is tilted forward. It doesn't matter if the female is big, tall, or small. Now, people, like I'm showing you here, because let me go back to that picture. Like I'm showing you here, this picture right here with this woman kneeling down. There's a reason why this picture is this way. So you just can't go maybe trying to look for an odd. You have to ask the question, why is she kneeling down? Why is it sideways? It's basic logical thinking. That's how your brain should work. All right? Okay. So I scroll forward into the document just to show you it doesn't matter the size of the female. Big, small, tall, there's always going to be an arch in the back. So you can see right here, there is a big female to my left. There is an arch in the back and the pelvis is tilted forward. That tilts, like I showed you guys before, I was talking about rather, that it's from the navel. You can see that slant deep into the pelvis, slanting much more than that of a man. And from the back, you're going to see that as well for a female. So big female here, arch in the back, pelvis is tilted forward. Small female to my right, arch in the back, is still tilted forward. And I've talked about the fact that sometimes if you don't see this front slant, it could be the fact that the female has gone through a lot like of abdominal exercises or done some sort of liposuction that makes this to look very subtle, but it is there because when she stands up, you're going to see that she's going to be look like she's leaning backwards, and this is going to be, slanting forwards. That's just the best way I could put it. Now, it doesn't matter if the female's got muscles, muscularity, it can't change the skeletal structure. Nothing can change the skeletal structure. It doesn't matter what drugs you take. The drugs only change the muscle tissue and the skin. It can't change the bones. The bones are set at conception. That means when a baby is fertilized in the womb, that skeletal structure is set. If it's for a man, it's XY skeleton. It's for a female, it's XX skeleton. Arch in the back, and the pelvis is tilted forward with hips below the crotch. Nothing can change that position. For a muscular female right here, no matter the drugs she takes, because women naturally to be heavily built like men have more that muscle mass and density, you have to take some sort of form of steroids in supplements for that to happen. It's not going to happen naturally. All right, so here's a female right here. You can see there is an arch in the back of this female, muscular female, another female right here, arch in the back. So let me go show you the differences between the hips, in which that nothing can change the location of the hips. Let's do that. So here is the video that I'm gonna play to show you where the location of the female hip is at. There's a lot of channels out there that tell you that a female is female dependent on a shoulder to hip ratio. There's no such thing as shoulder to hip ratio that makes you or determines if you're female, because the location of the hips for a woman is below the crotch, below right here, as you're going to see in this video when I start playing it. So it doesn't matter. A female can have wider shoulders than her hips, but the location of the hip is always going to be below the crotch. Every female has hips below the crotch. That's how clothes are sewn all around the world and brought to different countries, because they have the right location for where the female hip is at. If it was varying degrees or varying places for the female hip, those clothes that they were sewn, that they've never met any woman, they just sew it, those clothes would not fit to those females. All right? So ethnicity or color has nothing to do with where the location of the female hip is at. It's always going to be below the crotch. And with regular females, a woman starts spreading and getting wider from underneath her elbows, as you can see right here. So I play the clip. As you can see, the tape's gonna go around. The tape measures the hips right there, and as you can see, the location is below the crotch, not above it. A man's hip is above his crotch. So when a woman starts gaining weight, all right, she's gonna gain weight. The location of the fat is usually gonna go down to the hips. So the greatest part of the fat, like the highest portion of where you find the fat, is going to be around these places right here, as you can see right here. For a man, it's going to be above. So even if a man is trying to fake himself into being a woman, when he's putting on the fat, because the fat sticks to the bones, all right? It's the location of where the fat is going to stick is going to be high up above the crotch. Very, very higher up. And that will make the hips look very, very high. For a female, the hips are lower. So the hips are always going to be lower, 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 lower. All right? So when the fat deposit comes in, it's going to be lower, 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 not higher, higher, higher. All right? And the Q angle also for females is much more acute, because the pubic arch of a female is wider so that a baby can come out of the womb. So the Q angle is the angle between the hip and the knee. A man's hip is higher. A female's hip is lower. All right. So if you're looking at a male for the Q angle is going to start higher up here. For a female, it's lower below the crotch. For males, it's above the crotch. So I want you guys to remember that. So the female is going to turn around so you can see the location of the Q angle and the hip from the back. Now, as I usually say, if you get confused about doing a transvestigation when you're looking at somebody from the front, try to see if you can find a picture from the back. Because we all know a female just by looking at her from the back, because of the way the hip is at and the Q angle. It's very, very acute for females and less acute for males. So the location of the hip from the back is always going to be slightly above the bum line, but below the crotch. For males, this Q angle will start way higher up, so far away from the bum line that you can spot it. Okay? And know for a certain that you're looking at either a male or a female. So let's move on. So here is the part that I put out warnings on our channel. This channel is a different kind of channel. It's an educational channel. We expect that everybody should get educated on the channel. So if you get on the channel and you start asking questions like, can you look into this person? You think this person is a transgender? We do not appreciate that. You have to put the time and effort into answering your own questions. So how you put that time and effort is trying to supply pictures of the person, links of the person, based on the female skeletal structure, for us to see if this person has or does not have the female skeletal structure which differentiates the sexes. It's the female skeletal structure that differentiates the sexes. So put in time and effort into answering your own question. Don't just ask. You can ask us when you get caught up, all right? When you're doing the investigation and you are not sure of what you're seeing, then you can ask. But you have to provide those links of pictures of the person to show us that you are at least putting some sort of effort into answering your own question. So the warning that I'm going to put out here is that On this channel, you just can't say someone is a transgender. You can't say the person is male or female, the person looks boyish or mannish. You just can't say that. That's considered slander on this channel. If you want to say someone is a transgender, you have to supply links of pictures based on the female skeletal structure, specific links of pictures, not a Google search result, right? Specific links showing us that the person has hips below the crotch, all right, has an arch in the back, the pelvis is tilted forward, and has a wide pubic arch in those links of pictures. If you do not do that, and you start off by saying the person is a man, is a woman, looks boyish or looks mannish, all right, has a strong jawline, has maybe longer arms or longer torsos, Adonis belts, has an Adam's apple, all that which have nothing to do with childbirth, we are going to block you. There is no slandering allowed. That constitutes slander. You have to supply your facts based on the female skeletal structure. And if you supply your facts based on someone else's YouTube video, you're still going to get blocked. So that's the warning that I have to put in place. Then secondly, as usual, the Vatican hasn't changed. They are the ones responsible for the organized transgendering of young children and putting them in front of a TV. The Vatican has been on our channel and is trying to get rid of us because we are telling the truth. And we're going to show you that in a second. And also, we are not against transgenders. All we're doing is posing people who lie about their genders on us to the in TV and everywhere else. That is all what we're doing. So let's move forward then. So the Vatican caught up with us in one of our videos. The videos was called Jews Will Be Catholics. Because in that video, we explained that the whole idea of the Vatican creating the Jews was to fill a void that was left by the removal and extradition and of the black woolly-haired Jews that did exist at the time Europe was still black, before the albinos conquered Europe and, removed, what the word remove means here. I don't want to say it out specifically because I'm trying to make this video as Vatican friendly as much as possible because YouTube owns it. So the Vatican sent us an email and said that they had restricted the video. I'm just going to read the email first of all. The email says that your YouTube video has been restricted. Said, hello, Tricks of the Trade. Your video Jews Will Be Catholics was flagged to us by the YouTube community. So the question is, who is the YouTube community? Do you think the YouTube community is made up of just subscribers who watch our videos or people who watch it? That's not the YouTube community. The YouTube community is the community of the Vatican. It's the Vatican itself. So they said, upon review, we have placed restrictions on how the video will be shown. Please note that your video will continue to be available on YouTube. Video content restrictions. We believe in the principles of free speech, even when that speech is unpopular or potentially offensive to some viewers. Now, I really wonder what was offensive about us telling the truth that Theodor Herzl, all right, I'll show you how to watch the video so you can go watch it. But I'm just going to talk about it for a second. That Theodor Herzl said in his diaries that he's going to start a massive campaign to convert, Jews to Catholics, which will be the solution of the Jewish problem. This is what the Vatican has planned all along. The reason why the Jews are in Jerusalem is so that the Vatican can get Jerusalem for their own and build a third temple, because this has always been the plan right from inception, to make Jerusalem the headquarters of the Vatican. All right, that is the whole idea, especially of the albino Vatican that runs the world today. So we wonder what was so offensive about that video, because we were not showing anybody getting high on drugs or having a pornographic material or none of that. It was just clean video. And there's a lot of nonsense on YouTube, and this one gets offensive. But we'll show you how and the reason why for these tricks of the trade that the Vatican is trying to play on us. So it says here, however, YouTube doesn't allow hate speech. They said we had hate speech on that video. Hate speech. Did we say hate the Jews or hate the Vatican or whatever the case might be? There was no hate speech. Did we say go pick up guns and shoot the Vatican? Shoot some folks? Shoot some Jews? What sort of hate speech was on that channel? Because the Vatican controls all media and they own YouTube here. There's no such thing as a YouTube community. It's them. Okay? So it says here, YouTube doesn't allow hate speech or content that promotes or incites violence. Incites violence. That means we're inciting violence in that video. In some cases, flag videos that do not clearly breach the community guidelines, but whose content is potentially controversial or offensive, may remain upward with some features disabled. Now, the whole idea of them removing the features of this video, but I'll just read through the live first so you guys can see. It says your video will be shown after a warning message. In addition, certain features such as comments, sharing, thumbs up, and suggested videos have been disabled. Your video is also ineligible for monetization. Now, the Vatican thinks that we are stupid, but we are not, because all this language here that they remove comments, sharing, thumbs up, and eligible for monetization is covering up something very particular in that video. And what do you think it is about that video? The idea is they don't want you to be sharing it. That is the reason. Because normally somebody can watch a video on YouTube and say, I like this video. Hey, and you send a message to somebody else and say, hey, here's a video, watch. So the whole idea of putting those restrictions up is because they don't want you to be sharing that video calls Jews will be Catholic, because that's the truth. It's the information that they've been concealing. I will show you all that, the reason behind all that in a book, just like I said. So like I said before, if you're interested in the book, because we do not know how long our channel is going to be up, because the Vatican is deep in it right now, send us an email. When the book is ready, we'll let you know. All right, you're not going to get the book on Amazon or any of those other websites. You won't walk into a Walmart or Barnes and Noble and find it. It's only going to ship directly to you. So send us an email if you're interested in the book. The title of the email should just say book. Just say that, book. All right, so we'll tell you all about it when it's ready. So the whole idea of them restricting that video and giving us all these messages is because they don't want people to be sharing it, because the more you share it, the more people become aware of what's really going on. That is the idea. Now they throw in the the nonsense of trying to be like the cloak of goodwill and saying how you can respond. While this is not a strike on your account, we will want to hear from you if you believe this was a mistake. Really? I mean, the right way things are supposed to be handled is this. YouTube sends me an email if they really think that something was wrong with the video, and they say Tricks of the S Trade, we believe that this video is against regulations that we have on YouTube. Could you remove this and that? We'll give you maybe like 24 hours to remove it. If you don't remove it in 24 hours, then we'll have to do it ourselves. That is the right way. If you think something is wrong with the video, that's the right way that you should, the right way to go about it. Instead of just blocking the video, removing all, putting restrictions on it, and then sending me an email later to tell me that I should respond. It doesn't make any sense. I thought the right thing to do was to take somebody to court first, all right, or give the person the chance to solve his matter amicably before you guys pass judgment. When it's talked about civil rights. But like I've always said, there is no such thing as rights. All that is a fraud by the Vatican. And let me show you how the video looks like right now. So if you come up to our channel and you click on this video, Jews will be Catholics, like I'm clicking on it right now. Sorry, my internet is slow. This is what comes up. It says the following content already. So when someone sees this, if you're somebody trying to watch this video, right? If you see this, because so many people are brainwashed, they see this and they'll say, oh, the video isn't playing. I'm just showing the tricks of the trade of how the Vatican through YouTube does all this. If someone sees this, they say, oh, the video doesn't play, they go to another video, because nobody's gonna be like, attentive enough to read the instructions, which says the following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. I understand and wish to proceed. Most people are not going to see this. They're going to see this red thing right here that says that they can't watch the video, and they're just going to skip over it. So all these are tricks of the trade that the Vatican uses. And all this was taken from the Protocols of Zion. The Protocols of Zion, when they say something is inappropriate or offensive, they found because I've told guys before that the Protocols of Zion is not a protocols of the Jews. It was a protocol written by the Vatican, by its Jesuits, but they just labeled it the Protocols of Zion so that if you wanted to read it right? You would think it would still point you to the Jews, which they want you to believe is the source of all your problems. So this is how they can block anything at will under the guise that it's harmful to the public. And let me show you that in the Protocols of Zion right here. This is the Protocols of Zion. I don't know if I should put a description up on this particular video, but I might. But you could just go Google it, or on any of your search engines and just type up Protocols of Zion and you'll find out. So the idea, the script that they used to block a YouTube video was under this pretext, all right? Under one of your protocols. This is protocol number 12. So you're very much interested in reading how it concerns that video of ours called Jews Will Be Catholic. It's in protocols number 12. And it says here, the pretext, as you can read, he says, the pretext for stopping any publication. Oh, let me try to reduce this so you guys can see it clearly. Okay. It says here, the pretext for stopping any publication will be the alleged plea that it is agitating the public mind without occasion or justification. So this is how they can take down anything that you're watching, or any publication, or any video, or any comment that you leave on social media, by under the premise that it is agitating the public, like the public asked for them to take it down, because YouTube is owned by the Vatican. The Vatican is YouTube. I don't know how best way to say it. So they use this script every time. If they find that something is talking about too much truth that shows who they are, they say that it is, right, that it is agitating the public mind without occasion or justification, so it has to be brought down. This is exactly what they've done with our video called Jews Will Be Catholics. Exactly what they've done with the email they sent us by telling us that it is found offensive. All right? It's promoting hate speech under the false ideology of this in their protocols on how to make sure that the public doesn't come to the knowledge of the truth. Under the pretext for stopping any publication will be the alleged plea that is agitating the public mind without occasion or justification. The Protocols of Zion were written a very long time, so it doesn't look like it's just something that just came out of the blue or something is new. This is how every media which is owned by the Vatican is used to make sure that you don't get the truth, to suppress the public mind into the knowledge of the truth, to hide facts, to deceive the public. That's all what it is. Okay, so let's move on and talk about some other stuff because the Vatican lies are so many. And I'm going to show you a couple more before we jump onto the main topic of talking about what Christmas and Easter really is. And then we finish up with the transvestigation of mckagan duff. But let me start with showing you a little bit history of Duff McKagan. Sorry to say if I said Kagan Duff before. Duff McKagan of the Guns N' Roses. We'll go into his Wikipedia page, and then we'll come back and show you some more lies that the Vatican is using around. And then after that, we'll just wrap everything up. Let's do that. So we're on the official webpage or the official stats of Duff McKagan from Wikipedia, which is also owned by the Vatican. And we just want to read some things just to show you that this so-called dude has the Vatican Code of Numbers written all over it, which actually shows you that this is a stooge of the Vatican. Now, if you're interested in the Vatican Code of Numbers, you hear me say that, and you want to know about it, look for a playlist on the channel called Vatican Code of Numbers, or look for the Lisa Lopes video, all right? That will explain in detail what the Vatican Code of Numbers means, but we have a playlist on it, and for each particular video that we make that has any Vatican Code of Numbers, we put it on that playlist. So this video might also go into that playlist as well. So he says here that Duff McKagan was born February 5, 1964. Is an American bass guitarist, songwriter, and author. He's best known for his 12-year tenure with the hard rock band Guns N' Roses. Right here, the Vatican Code of Numbers is at work. 12 years, multiples of 3. Now, we read further into his webpage. It says here, toward the end of his first tenure with Guns N' Roses, McKagan released the solo album Believe in Me, 1993. Believe in Me. Vatican Code of Numbers is right here at work. we scroll down further into the document. I mean, the Vatican Code of Numbers is littered everywhere on this particular page. I mean, it's everywhere. But let's scroll further into the document just to show you one more thing about what you should read. It says here in his early life part, it says, further developing his skills by playing along with albums 1999 by Prince. 1999 can be turned upside down. It turns into a 6. All multiples of 3. There is a reason why albums 99 by Prince right here is there for a reason. Vatican Code of Numbers. That is who Mr. Drew or Duff, like as they call him, Andrew McKagan, better known as Duff McKagan, is. Right here, this picture is a deceiver. We'll get into him a little bit more, but let me just show you some other lies of the Vatican, which they tell you every day without you noticing. And let's continue on. First lie I have to talk about is Donald Trump. There is so much noise in the media that Donald Trump has signed the tax laws into effect. And I've told you guys before in a video that this whole tax thing is a fraud. Because I've told you before, anytime you see that the whole United States Congress comes into agreement to do something, you best believe it, that is a total fraud. And the fraud is only at the detriment of the public, not of them. So he says here on this particular website, you can pause the video at any point in time and copy out this link right there and go read up. It says, Trump promised a tax cut aimed at the middle class. Looks like he missed badly. But CNN never said this. You never heard it on CNN or Fox, that the promise that Trump said about the taxes are for the middle class, that he failed badly. Let's read further into the document to show you what's been going on. It says, Donald Trump promised as he ran for president that the middle class would get a massive tax cut of 35%. Those were the words of Donald Trump. And people are going to be jumping up and down, and CNN is going to make you believe that Trump actually did something for you. You got to actually think that you got a cut. So you got 35% because that's what he said. But it says here, after taking office, he promised the cuts would be aimed squarely at the middle class. His top economic aides promised a tax system no less progressive than the one in place today. Let me show you the part that you should read, because what he did was only 10% cut. Let me see, scroll down to the document again. So here it is right here. It says, the bill reduces federal taxes by about 10% for the middle class. 10%. 10. Not 35. What's the difference? And remember, people, the reason for that 10% is because, like I've said, everything that's happening this year is not by accident or coincidence. There is the removal of net neutrality. That means your internet is going to be based on a quota. If you run out of the quota, then you have to go pay again. So for example, let's say what they're going to do is, for example, if you like watching videos, they're going to give you like maybe let's say maybe 2 gigabytes for video. All right. If you're done watching the 2 gigabytes for that video on that particular website that you like watching, like Tricks of the Air Straight, they're going to shut you down. So you can't watch it anymore. So they're going to make it much more, let's say, strenuous for you to be watching what you like. But what they're going to be showing you is that they're going to bring up some other videos on certain channels which they say, oh, these videos have been optimized by us because the company pays us. So you won't be spending much gigabyte if you watch these other videos on this other channel. That's the way it's going to work. So you can watch up, like say you like watching Tricks of the Air Straight, they're going to give you a quota. You run out of that quota, they block you. If you've tried watching Tricks of the Air Straight and you've run out of the quota, they'll direct you to another video. They say similar video that we created, but the people who make this video are paying us directly. So you won't have to spend that much. You can watch this particular channel free of charge. The video streaming is free for that. But any other part of the videos that you like or channels that you like for like Tricks of the Air Straight, that's I'm talking about specifically on YouTube, then you're going to get throttled. That's what is going to happen. And here's one of the so many other lies. Let's continue on with some other lies so you guys can keep seeing what's going on here. So one of the news or lies that I want to expose about the Vatican is the subject of Meghan Markle. Now, a lot of people don't know that Meghan Markle's first name is not actually Meghan. Meghan just sounds a little bit royalish. Her first name was Rachel. And we've been made to believe this story that, Meghan Markle is just a woman that, has fallen in love with Prince, I think Prince Harry, and is engaged, and then they're about to get married. And actually, people believe in that fairy tale like kind of story. But what the news media is not publicizing, that so that people should understand, is that Meghan Markle is actual royalty, also supposed fake royalty, because like I've said before, all royals are fake. It doesn't matter if they're black or white or albino, as the case may be. To me, I have no respect for them because they are all fake. Because royalty was based on the fact of the children of the fallen angels which came into this world. They are the ones who started that, creating a family that they should be honored or respected above all the men. Right? So that's where royalty came from. So I really have no respect for any royalty, because they're continuing what those children of the fallen angels did in this generation. More about that explanation in the book. Like I said before, we go into deep detail on the book. So if you're interested in the book, like I said, just send us an email saying book. So when the book is ready, we'll let you know the cost to get it and everything else. We'll let you know first before we make a video, so that if we have a few copies available, you be the ones to get it first before we make it public on YouTube channel, if the YouTube channel is still going to be around, the Vatican doesn't take it down by then. All right. So that's what I wanted to I just wanted to share with you, because a lot of people don't know that Meghan Markle, fake royal, is actually a royal. Her bloodlines is she's cousins to Prince Harry. This is what this video I'm gonna play is about to show you. In case the video doesn't play, maybe after talking about this and the video doesn't play, just know that when we're trying to upload the video, YouTube maybe blocked us, and we have to re-edit that part so as to allow the video to get uploaded. But if it plays, it plays. If it doesn't play, that's fine. But if you want to play the video itself and understand what I'm talking about here, showing you that Meghan Markle is actual royalty, that she's related to Prince William, a bloodline that are related, they are cousins down the way, then you can pause the video at any point in time, copy out this link. If the video doesn't play from this point onwards when I'm trying to play it, then you should just know that YouTube told us we couldn't upload the video with that content, so we had to edit it out. So in any case, play the video from the 7-minute mark, so you can get all that information that I'm talking about, to show you that Meghan Markle is actual royalty, as the case might be. She's a princess and she's black. A lot of people don't know that Meghan Markle is black, because today, through surgery to her nose, surgery to bleaching her skin, making sure her hair is under like a hot iron, combed and straightened every day, her blackness, now she looks like an albino. She looks so straight up like an albino. But I'm going to show you some pictures first to show you that Meghan Markle is actually a black woman, all right? Because her mother is black. Then we'll come back and try to play this video. But if you do not see the video, then you should just know that the Vatican, because they own YouTube, told us to edit it out. And we have to do that. So you can, like I said, I've showed you the link. You can go watch it. So this is one of the many lies that is being sold to the public. So we just think that this thing between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry is happening organically, when Meghan Markle has been trained right from childhood to be a princess. She made a video once, I think, on you could go look for the video, Inside Edition, talking about that women's rights ought to be expected. A video was made showing about a cleaning equipment or cleaning lotion or solution, whatever the case might be, that's used in the kitchen. And the video said that women belong in the kitchen, right? And they should be using that grease solution to do their cleanings. So she objected to it when she was, I think, 11 years old or 12 years old. And the video was re-edited and that part taken out. And all that was signs, because she's been trained for that position. So the irony, or let me say the symbology in that particular video, was that people had to do or respect her to whatever she said, because she was a princess. But naturally, people just watching that, because that's what's gonna the media is gonna make you look looked like, that she had already started being someone who was trying to work her way up or work for society, as the case might be, that she was a stand-up woman. But the symbology in that story was the fact that she's a princess, and when princesses talk, they have to do what they tell, or they have to do what she says. That's just what it's about. The symbology was that she's a princess and you have to honor what she says. So let me see if I can show you some of the pictures of Meghan Markle, just to show you how this black woman has been turned into an albino. Because somebody looking at her will never ever know today that she is a black woman. Let's do that. So here is a link to showing some of Meghan Markle's pictures. You can pause the video at any point in time and copy out the link just to show you some pictures that you've been looking at a black girl who's now been made to look like an albino because of white supremacy. You can see the nose right here. That's the nose of a black baby. The so-called nose which they attach to like black people all around the world. The features tell you that she's black, even though her father genetically is an albino. But as we all know, whenever anybody breeds with a black person, all right, who doesn't have any albino traits, the children that come out are black. And that's the whole reason for racism, to keep this from happening all the time. But in this case, I think that Meghan Markle here, the father was told to maybe breed with a black person so they can have some sort of, like, you know, blackness, because you have to remember this. Albinism is caused by inbreeding. So if the royal bloodlines are still inbreeding amongst themselves without introducing someone into that bloodline, the children are going to be more albinic and have more and more problems later on in the years. So I think her father right here was told, get with a black woman and produce a black child, but will still maintain a bloodline because it's coming from you. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying right there. So if you scroll into this particular page, you can see that you're looking at the hair of this woman is still, Meghan Markle, is still black, and that's a mother right there. Mother is, I think, is Jamaican or so. Scroll further and look and see that the hair right there is woolly hair, frizzled woolly hair. The nose is still black, as the case may be, might say, but she had surgery in the nose. The video I'm gonna play is gonna tell you all that. If it allows it play. If it doesn't, it's not my fault. So I scroll further in, you can see, look at the hair right there. It's woolly. Look at the way it's standing out there. That's woolly hair, and that's Meghan Markle with the nose, still looking like a black child. All right. See her right here again. You can see the hair is standing up straight because it's woolly hair. It's not falling over flat. You can see from that video. I don't know if it's clear enough, but you can see that you're looking at a very black child right here. Even with the nose, even with the skin, still has melanin in it. But now it's all bleached out. The hair is straightened out with constant ironing all day. She's had surgery to the nose to make it look more albinic, the stereotype that we've come to believe that, you know, albino people should have a way the nose looks, which is not actually true. So scrolling further, you can see the hair right there is still woolly, and she's still looking very, very like a regular black child, very black kid. You can still see her hair is still woolly. There's so many pictures that you can look at that right here now. See that? Woolly hair, not the same as her albino friend here, is all straight. You can still see the hair is woolly, has weight. It's not getting all in the wind. It's not blowing about. It's sturdy and straight, or sturdy and bulky, as black people's hair should be. Sorry to say. So if you want to scroll through and see all the pictures of Meghan Markle here while she was younger, like I said, and still that's the hair again. You can see it's still woolly. The pictures are not very clear, but you can tell by that. You can pause the video, like I said, and copy out the link. And here is a picture of Meghan Markle when she was much more younger, in that video that I talked about, in which they said that women belong in the kitchen to use that solution or grease cleaner. And she objected to it, and the video was changed and edited. And like I said, the symbology right there is to tell you guys that she was a princess right from one. But the public doesn't understand that kind of symbology. They just think there's just because the media is going to make it look like she was just a social enigma who was already trying to put things right in the society and not see the symbology of what's behind it. That is a picture of her in that video. You can still see the nose, and the skin is still dark, like a black person should be, who's light or light skin black, as they call it, telling you that but today this was pictures actually showing she's black. But Today, she looks like this. And nobody would ever guess or know because the skin is constantly going to be bleached. The dose has been changed and some other surgery done to it. The hair is straightening out every day. But I bet when she cuts it out, if it grows out, it still grows out woolly. So let's continue and see if I can play that video for you to see that hear from their lips. If it doesn't play, you find out it doesn't play after this point, just know that YouTube told us to take it out. But you can, I showed you earlier that you can go watch the video yourself. So let me do that right now.
And was more interested in knowing if he was a kind person. Perfect nose. It's not unusual for clients of cosmetic surgeons to bring in pictures of their favorite celebrities. Meghan's face is pretty perfect, so we can understand how some people might lust over her beautiful features. But we had no idea that she was one of the top requests for cosmetic surgeons like Dr. Stephen T. Greenberg. Patients come to him all the time asking for Meghan's nose. In Dr. Greenberg's opinion, the beauty of her nose is that it's not perfect. He says that she has a slight dorsal hump on it, which is not something that most nose job patients want. There also seems to be a direct relationship between the growing requests for her nose and the seriousness of her relationship with Harry. Already royal. Harry is a prince who grew up in London, while Meghan is an actress who was born in LA. Their lives seem so different, but it turns out that they may have more in common than we all previously thought. According to a genealogical report, Meghan and Harry's family trees crossed paths briefly back in the 15th century. This means that they're actually distant cousins. The report found that Meghan's father is a distant relative of Ralph Bowes, the High Sheriff of County Durham, whose grandson moved to the U.S. in 1632. The Bowes that remained in the U.S. married into the Lyon family, and the Lyon family eventually married into the royal family. We had no idea that Meghan was already royal. Rescue dogs. Meghan is the proud owner of...
So as you heard there, Meghan Markle is actually related to Prince Harry, to the royal fake royal family, the Illuminati royal family, which is the Vatican. So she's part of that bloodline. She's black, but today she's been changed. Her appearance has been altered. She's had a nose surgery, as you heard, by one of the greatest surgeons of nose surgery to make her look even more albino than her natural black self. And so this is how the Vatican lies to you and makes you believe in all these crazy stories, because a lot of people are going to get hooked on this story and say, oh, Meghan Markle, she's just a small town LA girl who's married, she's now royalty. It's all nonsense. Everything is pre-arranged and planned, sorry to say, right from the get-go. They don't play no games. They're just going to allow somebody just walk in there because you could mess things up. Has to be somebody who's vetted. So it's a control society. Don't think that you have any freedoms or the story that these people make for you to believe. It's all false. Okay? That's just what I want you to get from this video. So now let's go into answering the question, what Christmas and Easter is all about. And then we're done with that. So that you guys, when you're celebrating Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, you really know what you're celebrating. Because before I start the video, Christmas and Easter is a celebration of the sun. That's just what I wanted to say before I start the video. The part that I'm talking about right now. A lot of people who celebrate Christmas and Easter have no clue. Because the Vatican has sold us the idea that are actually celebrating the birth of Jesus, as they call it, in December, and his death, burial, and resurrection in Easter. They've covered it up because this ideology of celebrating, Easter, celebrating Christmas and Easter is pagan. I'm going to play a video article first on CNN. I'm going to read some stuff from that article as well, just to show you that they've always known that it was pagan. This was drafted in by the black woolly-haired Romans in the time of Europe, so that they could, unite all the pagan people that they were ruling over to have one day that they could celebrate all together. Because all the pagan deities around the world that were celebrated knew for exact time that Christmas was between always the 21st and the 25th. And then the Romans set up a day and say, okay, since we know there's a reason why it's between the date 25th there is there for a reason. So the other pagans used to celebrate it from the 21st to the 25th. All right. So when the Romans came in, they said, let's celebrate it on the 25th rather than celebrating it maybe on the 21st or 22nd or 23rd or 24th of December. Let's just set a day and set it on the 25th. There is a reason why it's on the 25th of December. And I'm going to show you that. So, but first of all, let's play that video from CNN as the basis, as the foundation for understanding what Christmas is first. Then we can come back and then I'll explain some more so you can understand what it means and what Easter means. So when you think that you're celebrating the birth of Jesus, you're actually celebrating the birth or the so-called birth of the Son. It's a Son Christmas and a Son Easter. It's not a Jesus Christmas and a Jesus Easter. So let's do that. Before I play the video, I forgot something. Meghan Markle, I just wanted to put this out. Meghan Markle is female. For anybody who cares to know and thinks she's a transgender, she's not. Here's one of the pictures of Meghan Markle. As you can see right here, she has an arch in the back right here. That pelvis is tilted forward, as you can see from the front. She's all female, a born female, still a female. She's not a transgender or any other thing. So I just wanted to put that out there so you guys can know. You can see the Q angle here right from the back. It's very, very acute. That's the Q angle of a woman. Okay, let's continue on to the video on the topic of the sun. All right, the video that I wanted to share with you guys and talk about it before I do some more explanations. So in order to understand what Christmas and Easter means, we're gonna first of all, I'm gonna start with Christmas, then I'm gonna talk about Easter later on. So to understand Christmas, we need to understand two things that are very, very important. The first thing that we need to understand is the term the winter solstice. We need to understand what the winter solstice is, and then after that we go into some deep definitions and for you to see where the word Christmas came about. So what is the winter solstice? That's the first question. Now, the winter solstice is the time where the sun is at its, let's say, farthest in, well, the best way to put it is like, is the time when the sun is farther out in its apex. According to, you know, a lot of people, they say that this is the rebirth of the sun. Why is it called the rebirth of the sun? Because you need to understand the revolutions of the sun around the earth. The sun goes around the earth in 3 circles. The first circle is called the Tropic of Cancer, the second circle is called the Equator, and the third circle is called the Tropic of Capricorn. So these are the 3 circles that the sun goes through. I'm going to show you some visual pictures of that so you can really understand it on the flat earth map because the world is flat. But first of all, I'm going to play a video in which CNN tries to explain what the winter solstice is. I'm going to break down the video and break it down in such a way that you can understand and differentiate the lie from the truth in what they're telling you, because the Vatican is involved in everything that they try to explain to you. So I'm going to play the video first, then I'm going to explain with the map, and then explain the definition of Christmas and how it came about from the winter solstice, so you guys can have a perfect understanding, so that if you're out there celebrating Christmas, you know, buying gifts and going through all the merriment of the season, you have to understand what you're celebrating. That you're not just celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, as we're being told, because the Vatican has camouflaged this. This was all started by the black woolly head Romans, have camouflaged it in such a way that people who think that they're Christian think that they're actually celebrating the birth of Jesus, not knowing that they're celebrating an age-old pagan event, which is actually which comes about from the winter solstice, because it's the winter solstice that gave birth to Christmas. So let's play that video first, then we'll come back and explain some more stuff.
The winter solstice occurs when the sun's rays are directly over the Tropic of Capricorn at 23.5 degrees south.
Solstice occurs when the sun's rays are directly over the Tropic of Capricorn at 23.5 degrees south of the equator. The solstice is when the Earth is tilted most away from the sun on its axis. The winter solstice marks the longest night and shortest day in the northern hemisphere, while the southern hemisphere will have their longest day. The sun stays below the North Pole horizon during the winter solstice. It's the beginning of winter in the northern hemisphere. The winter solstice is different than the equinox, which is when the sun's rays are directly over the equator. That happens twice a year when day and night are equal lengths. The day after the winter solstice, we will begin lengthening days, which leads up to the summer solstice in June.
I'm Vern, the Orange Money retirement rep.
So first of all, after watching that video, I want you to get the basic truths before we move over or start talking. The first truth you have to understand is that the winter solstice, what it means is that the sun is at the Tropic of Capricorn, one of the 3 circles which I'm going to show you in a minute. That's one of the first truths that you should get from that video, because since the Vatican controls what we hear or what we see, they try to make us believe that the world is a globe. Now, they say that the reason for us having a longer day, especially within the Northern Hemisphere. Northern Hemisphere here means people who are living in the area of Northern America and Europe especially. That the reason why we have such a long night and a very short day during this point in time is because the Earth is tilted at 23 degrees, 23.5 degrees. As usual, the Vatican code of numbers at work, which means it's a lie. 23 there just signifies 2 3s. So it's 33 actually. So that's a lie. That's not the reason for that. The other truth that you have to understand is this. You can actually pause the video, because I want you to pause the video and you can read up on it. But I'm trying to make go through the explanation so you guys can understand what I'm going to say next. So it says that this particular winter solstice started on December 21st. So December 21st, I think, was about 2 days ago from the time of making this video. If you did notice, everybody that lived in the Northern Hemisphere had a very, very short day, and the night came in really, really quick. All right. So if you did notice that, that means the winter solstice started. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show you from this particular web page is that something of point that you should note. Let's see if I can find it here. It says, where am I reading from? Okay, it says here, now when you're reading this stuff, I don't want you to be confused. So anything that says that, you know, like for right here, it would say the Southern Hemisphere refers to this event as the December solstice because seasonally it signals the beginning of their summer. All right, Southern means anybody that's leaving, let's say, beyond the Tropic of Cancer down to the equator. All right. I don't want you to get confused about any of these things when you're reading on the website. All you have to understand is that the winter solstice starts on December 21st. And it's that day that people who live in the Northern Hemisphere experience the shortest day and longest night. If you're living farther away from that Northern Hemisphere, anywhere from down into the equator, right? That means you're going to have a long day and a short night. It's the opposite for the people living in Northern America and Europe. So, but what I want you to get to understand this is that the winter solstice, this is what you have to get from this. The winter solstice is the time that the sun arrives at the Tropic of Capricorn. That should stay in your memory. I want you to get that first. The winter solstice is the time that the sun arrives at the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? Get that first. All right. So the next thing that I want to show you guys from this particular website, it says that historically, the solstice has been celebrated by people around the globe at Stonehenge in England. So when the albino elite and the Vatican lies to you that they don't understand the reason for Stonehenge, they're just telling you the truth right here, and a lot of people won't catch it. The Stonehenge was erected, right, to track the path of the sun. So a lot of this monuments that you see around the world that don't make any difference, that are so high, is to track the path of the sun. So for example, the pyramids in Egypt is to track the path of the sun. Stonehenge was to track the path of the sun. And they had so many other, buildings around, like the Inca temples and so on and so forth. All that was to track the path of the sun. But the Vatican, who knows the truth, will create a mystery around these places to lie to you. So all those great temples that you see around the world and places that you visited, pyramids all around the world, Stonehenge, this was all created to track the path of the sun. So I want you to understand that today. Okay, so let's move further and explain what the term and how the term Christmas came into being. Then I'm going to explain it with some maps and show you the revolutions of the sun so you can have a perfect understanding of what Christmas means first, and then we talk about Easter next. So let's move forward. So I'm on the Wikipedia page right here talking about the winter solstice. And what you're going to notice is that Wikipedia is going to tell you that the winter solstice or hibernal solstice, also known as midwinter, is an astronomical phenomenon marking the day with the shortest period of daylight and the longest night of the year. Now, this is a fraud right here, because remember, what I wanted you to get, what I wanted you to grasp from whatever they were saying is that the winter solstice marks the time when the sun arrives at the Tropic of Capricorn. I'm going to show you that in some few slides of pictures. Now, what we're going to take away from this web page on Wikipedia are some basic things that I want you to understand. Now, it says here that the winter solstice, okay? Now, remember, the winter solstice for this year was on the 21st of December, so keep that in mind as well. It says here it says here on this page here, midwinter, Yule, the longest night, Yule. All right. So another word for the winter solstice is the word Yule, from where you get Yuletide, celebrations. But before I get into the meaning for you to understand that far better, let me read some things from this particular webpage here on the winter solstice. It says here, as I scroll down, it says the solstice may have. That's when the Vatican is starting to lie to you. It's not may have, it is, because today the symbology of the solstice is celebrated as Christmas. It's a pagan ritual, all right? And I'm going to explain all of that in a second so you can understand. But first of all, I want you to understand the days, okay? The solstice may have been a special moment of the annual cycle for some cultures, even during Neolithic times. Astronomical events were often used to guide activities such as the mating of animals, the sowing of crops, and the monitoring of winter reserves of food. Many cultural mythologies and traditions derive from this. This is attested by physical remains in the layouts of late Neolithic and Bronze Age archaeological sites such as Stonehenge. You see what I'm trying to tell you now? Stonehenge in England and Newgrange in Ireland. But it's all over the world, all right? Because they know the reason why these monuments were all built. Like I said, the pyramids, if you've ever had a mystery trying to figure out what the pyramids were built for, and all those great archaeological sites that you've been wondering, what was it about? What was these guys up to? They were tracking the location of the sun across its circles. So for you to understand Christmas, you have to understand, first of all right, that the winter solstice means that the sun has arrived in the circle of the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, before we go further to show you, pictures that will make you understand that, let's read and understand the meaning of Yuletide that we talked about here before. Yule, from where you get another name for the winter solstice was Yule, which is a Germanic name. And for you to understand that this practice, of worshipping the sun when it arrives at the Tropic of Capricorn all came from this. So let's move on. So I read the meaning of Yule from Wikipedia for you to see what it means here. You can pause the video at any point in time, or just go type out Yule, and Wikipedia should come up and you guys can read about it. It says Yule or Yuletide means Yule time. Yule time then meaning the winter solstice time. Remember, that's where we get the word Yule from the winter solstice, which indicates that the sun has arrived at the Tropic of Capricorn, okay? Was and is a festival observed by the historical Germanic peoples. Scholars have connected the celebration to the wild hunt, the god Odin, and the pagan Anglo-Saxon Modrenit. It later underwent Christianized reformulation, resulting in the term Christmastide. That is from where you get Christmas. Christmastide. So it's telling you that this Yuletide, or Yule, the celebration of the sun arriving at the Tropic of Capricorn, right, was called Yule. And then when the Roman Empire came in, the black woolly-haired Romans, they Christianized it and called it Christmastide. All right? So now with that said, so you have the basic foundation. I'm going to pull up a picture and show you the revolutions of the sun so you can understand what's going on and why it is celebrated on December 21st sometimes, and sometimes December 22nd, December 23rd, and at the latest, December 24th. All right? So I'll make you understand that and why we have Christmas on the 25th of December. So let me do that. So here is a picture of the flat earth. And before I get into the explanation, I want you to understand how the so-called dome of the flat earth is. I want you to have in mind something like a very high cone. I want you to remember that. A very high cone with that cones up to the top. So if you ever seen, like, maybe you drive along the freeway or the roadways and you see those cones, think of that. A very high cone. That's what the firmament looks like. All right. And it's flatter on top. So that means the higher you go up, the smaller the top becomes. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So the higher you go up on a cone, if you're working yourself from inside the cone to the top, the smaller the frame becomes. Okay. So think about that as we're explaining the firmament right here and what you're looking at with the flat earth map. Now, the sun is at this point right here now. This is the Tropic of Capricorn. So remember, we have 3 great circles that the sun runs around. We have the Tropic of Capricorn right here. We have the equator, and we have the Tropic of Cancer. All right. Now, before I go into explaining everything, I just want to explain the seasons for you. The sun determines our seasons because how close the sun is to us on how its light shines determines the season. It determines the hot or cold, the summer or the winter. All right. So in order to explain that furthermore, let's explain how the sun, how a year is calculated. All right. So according to all the greatest civilizations that lived before the present albino ones, all right, the black woolly head ones, the sun started its journey at the equator. Why does it start at the equator? Because the very first civilizations of man lived in Africa. I'll put all this in a book so you guys can understand it. I'm not going to go into too much details because I don't want to make the video too long. It's already long already. So they knew that the sun started its run in the equator. So that's where this was counted to be in Africa, right? And as you can see, the equator is running around someplace around where they have, like, I think that's the Equatorial Guinea, just off the coast of Africa. This place is, I think, this should be Nigeria. I think about that. So now, this is where the sun starts its revolution. So this is what happens. This is how we count one full year. The sun comes up towards the Tropic of Cancer right here. And when it runs around this circle in the Tropic of Cancer, we have what we call summertime. So running around here causes the summer. Okay? Now, when the sun comes into the Tropic of Cancer and runs around here, we have summertime. It is the reason why during the summer right here, we have very long days. Those are around that are around in North America here, Europe, and North Africa. I mean, almost all throughout, let's say, the whole world, because the sun is right at its apex. Now, think about that cone. The sun is right at the center, so its light floods everywhere. It can touch everywhere, and we have summer because it's closer. It's right up at the top of the cone, all right? So it's like, it's just more like if you stand under a light, you feel the light directly underneath it. But if you move further away from the light, right, you don't feel that kind of heat from any light that's above. That's the best way I can explain it. So when the sun comes down here and runs around, we have summertime. This is the reason why in places like Alaska, because you can see the landmass of Alaska and Russia is very, very close. This landmass is right here in the center, just right here in the center. They have most sunlight, so it looks like they have, like, I think according to Alaska, we hear that they have like maybe a total of like 5 months of sunlight during the year. That means the day doesn't get very dim. It's still very, very bright. If you've been to places like Paris, it doesn't get dark till like, I think 10, 11 p.m. at night. If you've been to Texas, it starts getting dark around 10, and some other places like that, which I have been around to. So now what happens is when the sun comes up here, it causes the summer running around here. Okay? Remember, the year starts from here, right? So it comes up here, and when it goes back here, 6 months have passed. Does it make sense? 6 months back to the equator. So it starts from the equator, comes up here one time, all right, and goes back here, and that's 6 months. Now it comes from the equator to the Tropic of Capricorn. And this is why the ancient religions and pagans call the rebirth of the sun, because by the time the sun gets to the Tropic of Capricorn, it's going through the final stages of its run for the year. So when the sun comes back up here, that's 1 full year. All right? Now, when the sun goes to the Tropic of Capricorn, the ancient pagans would realize that the sun is at the extreme age of its run. So think about the cone again. The cone, a very large cone. So at the top, we all feel the light. When the sun goes down back to the farthermost rims of the cone, where its light is not directly overhead us, we feel the sunlight less. So the days get colder, and that's how we have winter. Okay? So if you understand that, there's something else I have to add for you to understand the rest of the story. Now, every time the sun changes circles, so when the sun starts here, all right, and comes up here, because to move from this circle to this circle, it has to come in a straight line to get into this circle. The sun gains 2 hours, okay? It gains 2 hours, 2 hours and some minutes or thereabout when it does that. And when it comes back here, it gains another 2 hours or thereabout and some minutes, okay? It does the same thing this way, 2 hours and some minutes the other way. It gains about more than 2 hours. It's about 2 hours and some more minutes, because the circles are getting bigger as it's going outside. So when it goes there, it gains maybe 2 hours and some more 2 hours and some minutes. Here is let's say from here to here is an average of 2 hours. From here, it's going to be more like an average of like 2 hours and let's say 45 minutes or 30 minutes, all right? It goes there and it gains another 2 hours or 2 hours and 50 minutes or thereabout. Here is about 2 hours and some few minutes. And here is about 2 hours and 45 minutes or thereabout. It comes back here, it gains another 2 hours. So every time it does that, it gains 6 hours in a year. Now, if you've noticed this, there are some days in the year, because you wouldn't notice the 2 hour difference, because the 2 hour difference here just means that there is more sunlight shining. That's the best way I can explain it. There is more sunlight shining. That means the days stay longer. But the ancient civilizations throughout the days would see that, okay, this is the time period that we count that the sun should usually go down. So since it's not going down, that means we've gained 2 hours. Does it make sense? The days have become far longer. So we need to account for those 2 hours. So since the accumulation of those 2 hours turns into 6 hours in a year, after every 4 years, all right, they would account for 24 hours. 24 hours turns into 1 day, and that's why 1 day is added to the month of February to make it a leap year. After 4 years, they are counting the accumulation of the 6 hours every year until it comes up to 24, then account for 1 day in the month of February. Now, the reason why the summer solstice is celebrated. So let me explain it again. So every time the sun, or for every year in which the sun gains 6 hours, those hours accumulate. So that means, for example, in this year, the accumulation of the hours we had made the winter solstice to be December 21st. Maybe next year, it can be December 22nd. All right? It was always varying between the 21, 22, and 23rd of the year. So the pagan religions, the black woolly haired pagan religions all the world used to celebrate, which, they could celebrate on the 21st, they could celebrate on the 22nd, or they celebrate on the 23rd, or celebrate on the 24th. So when the Roman Empire came into being, all right, they wanted to find a date in which they would have a stable day in which they could celebrate all these pagan religions, celebrate the arrival of the sun at the Tropic of Capricorn, from which they call the rebirth of the sun. So what they did was set aside December 25th to celebrate that day. And remember, we already showed you how it came that you, symbolizing that the sun has arrived at the Tropic of Capricorn, came to be Christianized and called Christmastide. So from then, the black woolly-haired Roman Empire now celebrated it on the 25th. And since the Vatican runs, all right, used to run the Roman Empire, it became accredited as a day of celebration. So in order to deceive the so many Christians, the so many people who had an honest heart and thought that they were looking for God, they decided to call this Christmas, Christ Mass, and the deception happened. So a lot of people who go to worship or go to church or whatever and say they're going for a Christmas event, you're actually celebrating the rebirth of the sun, because that's what it means, the rebirth or the birth of the sun. Because by the time the sun reaches its apex here in the Tropic of Capricorn, when it comes back down here, it's going to be 1 full year. So they call it the rebirth because it's farther out here. So that is what Christmas really means. I have some more stuff to show you, just some stuff I'm going to pull from the website to actually show you that is where Christmas comes from. So let me show you that. So this is from a website. You could pause the video at any point in time and copy out this link right here and go read up on it. It's from Forbes, and it says here in talking about the winter solstice that perhaps that is where rituals such as New Year's, Christmas, and other just post-solstice rebirth celebrations owe their origins to. Can you see that? That is where Christmas comes from, the rituals such as New Year's and Christmas. But I don't have time to get into the lie that is in here, but you have to just to take the fact from here that the winter solstice, which marks the arrival of the sun at the Tropic of Capricorn, started the celebrations, the Yuletide, which is now called Christmas. In the same way, it happens with Easter, but with Easter is a little bit different. So I'm going to explain that, but first of all, let's start with the meaning of the word Easter for you to see what it actually means. Let's do that. Before I get into the etymology of Easter, I just wanted you to see this, what it means. If pagan rituals are your thing, I just wanted you to take a note so you can understand that Christmas actually is a pagan ritual, which has been we've been deceived into thinking that it's the celebration of the birth of Yehoshua when it's not. All right. It says here, if pagan rituals are your thing, this is probably a big moment for you. If not, the official first day of winter is neat for other reasons too. So the arrival of the sun and the Tropic of Capricorn marks the beginning of winter. And for us this year, that was the 21st of December, based on the revolutions of the sun and based on the fact that the sun gains 6 days in a year. And those 6 days could land us in any day between the 21st and the 24th, which would mark the arrival of the sun at the Tropic of Capricorn, symbolized in the winter solstice. So let's move on to Easter now. So to explain Easter, Easter here is from a Germanic word. It says of a Germanic origin and related to the German Ostern, East. According to Bede, the word is derived from Easter, the name of a goddess associated with spring. So that means Easter is associated with spring. And what is spring? Spring is called the spring equinox. All right. Spring equinox means that the sun arrives at the equator. And let me move over and show you that with the explanation that bearing in mind with the explanation that I already talked about with about Christmas. I'm not going to go too much deeper because I already explained that. So just keep that in mind. Let's explain this right here. So with the same flat Earth map, when the sun comes out from the Tropic of Capricorn, which is the circle right outside here, it comes to the equator. So when the sun arrives at the equator, it is called the spring equinox. That means spring has begun. Spring, symbolized by, I think, life is about to begin. All right? So here's what you have to notice. When the sun arrives here at the equator, since the pagan deities around the world wanted to celebrate the moon as well, they had to wait for the moon to also arrive at this equator, because remember, the sun and the moon go around these circles, the Tropic of Capricorn, the equator, and the Tropic of Cancer. But the moon runs around slowly. The sun moves faster. The moon revolves around slowly. So when the sun arrives, when it comes out from the Tropic of Capricorn back into the equator, all right, the pagans would wait for the moon to come out there also. So the moon would arrive maybe 9 days later. So when the moon arrived 9 days later, by them seeing the full moon, the celebrations would start. And that is what is called Easter. To explain that, you have to understand that Easter is a movable holiday. Why is it movable? You've never ever asked it, because sometimes you hear Easter is going to be like, for example, this year, they say Easter is going to be on the 1st of April. But come 1st of April, they say they moved it to maybe like the following week. Why is it moved? It's moved on the fact that they are waiting for the moon to come out into the equator and join the sun on the spring equinox. So the movement from the sun, from the Tropic of Capricorn into the equator, is what is called the spring equinox. Let me show you that. So I'm from this website. You could pause the video at any point in time and read up on it. It says the March equinox. They call it the March equinox, but it's called the spring equinox. It's one and the same thing. It said the March equinox marks the moment the sun crosses the celestial equator. That's what I want you to take notice of. It's when the sun arrives at the equator. So in celebration of Easter, let me show you why it's a movable day. So here is the best explanation I can get for you for why Easter is a movable date. It says Easter is a movable feast. Easter is a movable feast celebrated on the first Sunday after the vernal equinox. Equinox means full moon. Okay, that is on Sunday after the full moon of March. So what does that mean? So, for example, let me give you a date of the spring equinox that happened in 2017 this year. Let me pull that out for you, see. So the spring equinox was on the 20th of March 2017. Now, which day was Easter celebrated? Let me pull that out so you can see. So Easter was celebrated on April 16, 2017. Why did that happen? Let me pull out the pictures, the images, so you can actually see very clearly. So on March 20th, 2017, right? The moon arrived here and started doing its circles at the equator with the sun. All right? It arrived. Okay, sorry, let me start that all over again. On the 20th of March, all right, the sun arrived here from the Tropic of Capricorn into the equator and started circling this equator. 9 days later, the moon also arrived. So Easter is always the Sunday after the moon has arrived, because like from the explanation that I showed you before, let me go back to that explanation and show you again. It says here, Easter is a movable feast celebrated on the first Sunday after the vernal equinox, which is the full moon. That is on the Sunday after the full moon of March. So after 20th of March, if let's say the spring equinox is on the 20th of March, because it could vary. It could be 20. It's always from the 19th to the 21st. On any of those days, based like on the 6 hours that the sun gains per year, it could land it on maybe the 19th of March, the 20th of March, or the 21st of March at the latest. Just like the winter solstice could land any day from the 21st of December to the 24th of December. Same with the spring equinox. It could land any day between the 19th of March, the 20th of March, or the 21st of March. So what happens is this. If the full moon doesn't show up in the month of March after the spring equinox, which could be the 19th, the 20th, or the 21st, anytime the full moon shows up, all right, if it doesn't show up on the month of March and it comes in the month of April, then Easter will be celebrated the Sunday after the full moon event. Why? In order to keep deceiving the so-called people who think they are worshiping God into worshiping a false pagan religion that the black woolly-haired Roman people brought about. Not just the black woolly-haired. All civilizations had always had this, but the black Roman Empire now set a specific date of it on the 25th. And this deceived a lot of people into thinking that they're actually worshiping the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, when it's not. So let me show you that with some images so you can properly understand what's going on here. So the spring equinox of 20th of March 2017 was on this day. And as you can look, this is a picture showing you the moon phases throughout a month. Okay. Now the spring equinox arrived. That means the sun arrived at the equator on the 20th of March. It arrived at the equator on the 20th of March from the Tropic of Capricorn. All right. So when I arrived here, the full moon did not show up on any of these days. Sometimes the full moon does show up a day after, depending on its revolvement throughout the years that could make it arrive on that day, or it could show up maybe a week later. It may not show up at all in the month. So what happened was the sun arrived here on the 20th. As you can see, there is no full moon in any of these phases now showing you on this date. So the full moon didn't show up on March at all after the sun had arrived at the equator on the 20th. So the moon now showed up on full moon now arrived on the 11th of April. 10 or 11th of April, or 10, 11, 12, the full moon arrived on one of these days. You could mark 10, 11, or 12. So when it did arrive, the next Sunday is now set to be Easter, and Easter was on April 16th. So that's why Easter is a movable date, because they're actually not celebrating the birth of Yehoshua. They are celebrating the sun and the moon. And it's being told to you and being fed to you for you to believe and think that you're actually celebrating Christmas and Easter when you're just celebrating the sun. All right. That's what I wanted to show you guys. So let's move on and wrap this up. Let's go. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you, so you guys can know when you're going to buy gifts. And you know, the funny thing is that the whole period of Lent, like the Vatican tells you that we are celebrating 40 days of fasting and whatever the case might be for the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus, is actually celebrating the preparation for the sun and the moon to come to the equator. Those 40 days, they start counting. So these are all pagan celebrations cloaked to deceive those people who are not using their brain, studying their Bible on their own, to know that all these celebrations has nothing to do with God. It's cloaked to deceive you into a false Christianity, which Yehoshua has been talking about that everybody should come out of. So when you celebrate Easter and you celebrate Christmas, I want you to know it for today what you're doing. So in case you've been doing it ignorantly, you know it now. All right, let's go on to the transvestigation of Duff McKagan and wrap this up. Here is Duff McKagan right here. As you can see, he has the Q angle below the crotch. See that? And it's very, very acute, because you're looking at a female. Duff McKagan, 100% female, not a man. So transgender. All right. And this lady that he has here as his so-called wife is selling us that deception that these are heterosexual couple when it's actually two females, smiling and deceiving you, all stooges and agents of the Vatican. As you can see, the skull differences are there's not that particular much difference, because if this was a man, his skull should be noticeably larger than that of this woman over here based on their same height and ethnicity. Another picture. Sorry, my mouse is a little bit stuck. There's another picture of Duff McKagan again. As you can see, what's wrong with this mouse? It's not working today. Come on. Okay. All right. So Duff McKagan right there, you can see the hips are below the crotch and the Q angle is very, very acute. And he starts spreading wider just like a female should be from beneath the elbows, because he is 100% woman and not a man. Been lying and deceiving a lot of people for way too long. Another picture. And that's Duff McKagan right there lying down. And you can see that already, that's a female that you're looking at. But there's an arch in the back. I want you to notice that, right? See the pelvic tilt and how it bends and curves into a C-shaped arch right here? Because it's 100% female, not a man. Let me try to blow that up as much as I can so you guys see it. See that? Deep C arch in the back lying down, because this is a woman all the way. All right? Another picture. Duff McKagan again, as you can see right there, that you're looking at a woman with the way it walks, and the Q angle is still below the crotch, not above it like a man should be, because Duff McKagan is 100% female. All right, another picture. Duff McKagan again, and Q angle right here is just screaming out, I'm a woman all day. I can't lie about it, because it is a woman. It's been lying to us, telling us that it's actually a man when it's not. Let me blow this up so you can see it very clearly. That Q angle is saying I am female, is below the crotch. I don't know what's going on in there, but we know it's not real. All right, another picture. Here's Duff McKagan. As you can see right there, you're looking at a female. So if you've ever been listening to Guns N' Roses and you've been trying to check out this dude, you've been sorely deceived. You're looking at a straight up woman. Look at that. That's a female. All right, not a man. Another picture. Duff McKagan, as you can see right there, the waist or the angle, or what they say, the line of indentation, is above the navel, and it's so high, and it's aligning with the elbows as he gets wider. And you can look at the chest. There is no clear separation between the chest muscles and the abdominal muscles. They're all melted together because this is a woman. Been lying to you, and whosoever this is trying to sell you the idea that you're looking at a man when it's actually a female all along. And the Q angle doesn't lie. It's screaming, help me, I'm a woman. Look at how high the navel is, right? So high up in the abdominal area. The pelvis is tilted forward because it's 100% female. Another dude, a transgender. Let's go. Another picture. Sorry, did I want to say Hillary Duff? I'm not talking about Hillary Duff. Duff McKagan, okay? All right? Something on the neck. There's nothing there. He's just trying to make you feel like, you know, I'm a man when it's not. Look at this is 100%, and this is the so-called wife, right? Lying to you that this thing that you're looking at is actually a dude when it's not. But the Q angle is telling you, I am a woman all day. And this is the reason for a lot of the low jeans that you see today, in which they try to make men and women wear. It's a fashion design from the devil itself. Is to cover up the idea that the crotch right here is not sitting so low because it's a female. So they make this jeans look this way, like it's a low waist kind of jean, when it's actually a female right here. Sorry what I said. The low waist is made to make you deceive that it's a male. That's what I wanted to say. But you're looking at a woman all the same. They have the same waist. He has the same waist as this woman over here, right? See where the navel is and see how long it is from the crotch? His own is covered up, but it's right there. It's way too high because you're looking at a female, another man. All right, another picture. I wonder what's wrong with my mouse today. Sorry, fellas. Okay, and that is Duff McKagan again. Look at that. And probably I think this could be the daughter. I don't know. This is the so-called wife over here. And look at that. From the elbows, it's spreading wider, hourglass figure, and the widest point is below the crotch from where his Q angle starts. 100% female, another man. All right, another picture. Duff McKagan again. Look at that. 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 This is what I'm trying to tell you now. This low jeans, and especially with men sagging their jeans, all that, you know, fashion way of dressing or whatsoever, this guy sit down and think about it. How can we make jeans such that it can give a deceptive line of view when somebody looks at it, to make it look like the waist, you know, is longer, it's sitting lower, so someone can look like a man if he's female. Because for the man, we already know it's for the man. So this whole low waist thing is designed, all right, to make the waist look longer downwards, so that if you're a female dressed up in it, it looks longer downwards and somebody can pass you off for a male. That is the whole idea behind it. Hands in the pocket as usual to hide the hips. He's not just putting it in his pocket so as to look cool. He wants to hide the hips because he knows, or she knows, that he's lying, that he's not male, that he's female. That's all what this is about. Do not be fooled. Duff McKagan is 100% female and not a man. All right, let's go to some more pictures. My mouse is all over the place today. All right, Duff McKagan again. As you can see, the hips are below the crotch. The Q angle is screaming. Just look at the curvaceous nature of this dude. trying to lie to you that it's a dude when it's not. Hips below the crotch. You can see that right there, below the crotch, saying, I am female. All right, another picture. Duff McKagan again. I think I already showed you guys this picture. Let's move on to another one. And look at that. Now, here's a so-called wife trying to hug, Duff McKagan. And as usual with anybody, when you're trying to hug someone, your hand is going to try to find the narrowest point in their body. And for females, their waist is high up above the navel. So when your arm goes around, that's where you're going to hold. Because if you don't hold it, that's going to be uncomfortable for you for a while to be holding on to somebody in which you can't find the narrowest point in their body. So your arms are always going to be doing that. And this is what Duff McKagan's wife is trying to do, trying to hug him. And he finds the narrowest point is above the navel because that's where Duff McKagan's waist is at, showing you that he is, yes, a female. Been lying that he's male when he's not. All right. Some other pictures. Sorry about my mouse today. It's all over the place. Okay, another picture right here. And there's Duff McKagan. I just wanted to show you that. Looking all feminine. If you looked at that face, would you say that you're looking at, a man? I'm not saying that men can look feminine, but because we've already moved out the primary, we've proved to you with the primary indications that you're looking at a woman. We just want to show you this so you guys can just actually take a look and see for yourself that you're looking at a female right here in this picture, as you can tell. All right, another picture. Let's move forward. Here's another picture of Duff McKagan again. As you can see, you're still looking at a woman. Your eyes don't deceive you, so you can see clearly that you're looking at a female. All right, another picture of Duff McKagan with his wife right here. You can see the hourglass figure through them clothes and the low waist jeans, trying to fake to us that the crotch is hanging lower in the body like a man because it knows it's female, and the Q angle doesn't lie. He says, I'm a woman all day. As you can see right there, the skull differences are not different, even though he is supposed to be considerably taller than his wife because she's wearing heels, as you can see right here, and he's wearing flats. The head size is almost the same because these are two females. All right, another picture. Duff McKagan again walking the female walk. All right, trying to I've talked about the female walk before in that because the pubic arch of a woman is wider than a man. So the legs need to do two things. They need to come forwards and inwards while she's walking. So all the weight of the body goes to the leg that's outwards in front. And this is what Duff McKagan is doing. So that's what causes the female to be swinging from side to side because the legs are doing two things, walking, trying to balance the weight by moving forwards and inwards into the body as well. As you can see, there's a man walking right here. He doesn't need to do that. He's not leaning his weight into this leg. With men lean their weight into the leg that's behind them, not the forward leg. The legs that are behind. As you can see, this is a man walking. He's leaning his weight backwards to this leg that's behind him and not the one in front. So he doesn't swag, or it doesn't catwalk. That's the best way to put it. Okay, another picture right here in Duff McKagan. It doesn't lie. The Q angle is below the crotch and it's screaming all day, I'm a female. I cannot lie. But he wants you to believe that he's male when he's not. 100% female, not a man, a transgender one. All right. Here is Duff McKagan again. As you can see right there, the way he curves, you can see there is no clear separation between those chest muscles and those abdominal muscles because it's 100% female line. And the female indentation, the way it twists, is twisting from way higher up, shows you that it's male. So this is one of the clear examples I can show you what drugs does. Drugs can change the skeletal structure. So for him to look this lean and look this good, that's what the steroids do. But it can't do anything more than that, than making the person look lean like a man, with more muscle mass. But besides that, the skeletal structure all day tells you I'm a female. All right, let's go another picture right here. And Duff McKagan again, as you can see, the fine hourglass figure and the Q angle below the crotch, below the crotch. All right, another picture. Duff McKagan, look at this. I mean, just looking at this, you can say this should be a weird looking man. Which man dresses this way and leaves his torso this open like a female? And they've caused a lot of people to be confused, because you see some men on the red carpet actually wearing this, and you might probably think, oh, it's that's how just people dress. No, it's what females do. It's meant to cover up those transgenders, so you guys can spot it. 100% female and not a man. All right, another picture. Oh, here is it again, and the same dressing again, as you can see. Look at that. Which man dresses this way? Q angle is still below the crotch. 100% female. All right, another picture. I think I've come to the end. Let me see if I got one more picture. I think that's it. That's it. We've revealed all the pictures of this fake man right here is actual female. We showed you he had an arch in the back, and that was that. And we've come to the end of today's video. I hope you learned something. Sorry if it was a long video. We don't intend to make videos long. It's what it is. If you learned something, subscribe. Like I said, if you're interested in the book, send us an email. In the email, just say book. All right? Because we don't know how long this channel is going to be up, because as we've shown earlier, the Vatican is onto us, so we don't know how long it's going to be. They can shut us down for any reason, under the fact that, like I showed you for, they choose we are agitating the public, you know what I mean, and that people are finding it agitating and it's not good. We're promoting violence, or we're promoting what they want to say, promoting violence, and we're hate speech. They have so many numerous ways they can shut us down. So send us an email and just say book. All right, so that when the book is ready, we'll send you an email and tell you how to get it, because you won't get it in any store or any website other than from us, and it's going to be direct shipping. All right, and that's it. Like I said, the email is the same as the channel name at gmail.com. And I leave you with these words: look with your eyes, but see with your brain. Thanks, and bye-bye.